Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are archiving the bombers of the Italians, which are in the German tree, but before we get started, I just want to say that there was a coup released, or at least unlocked, on the Gaijin Entertainment channel on Cube, and it is for the G91. It is probably going to be the late-tier jet that a lot of Italian players are looking forward to. And I'd just like to thank Prince of Parthia 74 for pointing this out to me on the last video. So, if you want to go check it out, I'm sure I will do a review on it when the devlog comes out, which will probably be in the next few days or so. But anyway, let's get into archiving these bombers. Now, the reason we're skipping attackers is because, well, there aren't any attackers in the German tree for the Italians. I suppose the attackers you could talk about would be the G50s, which can carry bombs. That's something I didn't mention last time, so I apologize. The Series 7, I believe, can carry bombs. There it is, 2 50s. So yeah, if you want an attacker, there you go. So instead, we're going to be concentrating on this little part of the tree. It is between the Ju-88s and the He-111H6. Now remember, once again, you have to unlock these vehicles, research them and buy them before update 1.69 comes out, because otherwise these machines will be taken out of the German tech tree. They will be set to invisible, so you won't be able to research them, you won't be able to buy them. So just make sure, if you haven't yet, to get them, so you will have them, you know, ad finum. Same with the Marcolin CR42, which you do have to buy. So here we are. Here are the 7 Sparvieros that you can actually get in-game, or at least you used to be able to. A while ago, maybe at least 2 years ago now, 2 of these were taken out of the game, and I'm not exactly sure which ones were taken out of the game, but I'm guessing most of you will only have 5 of these listed in the game, so you can match up where you want to. They are very similar aircraft to each other, even though they vary in BR. For some reason, the SM-79 Series 1 has a lot lower BR than the rest, but it actually performs pretty much the same as them. It's a very odd thing. A lot of these Italian planes, I feel like, have just been left by the wayside in the German tree when it comes to their BRs and their matchmaking, because they knew they were going to make an Italian tree. It was one of the main reasons why I thought it was coming before the French tree as well, because there is absolutely no reason for most of these vehicles to be around 3.0 and 2.7, because, well, they're just not as good as the counterparts that they've put into the tree, at least, you know, over the last year, such as the Focke-Wulf 200, some of the Ju-88s, and also some of the remodels, such as the Heinkels. So let's get into it. The first one that we're going to look at is the SM-79 Series 1. This is a 1936 aircraft, and it definitely shows its age. It has the tri-engine setup, which the majority of these aircraft do. It has one Breda Safat in the front, as you can see here, which is actually controlled by the pilot. So while you're flying about, you can use it as an offensive armament. It has 2 waist gunners here with 7.7mm Lewis machine guns for some odd reason, and also a 12.7 Breda Safat there. It also has another Breda Safat looking under it, which basically means that if somebody attacks you from the back, you can shoot them when they're below you as well. The only thing I would offer for this aircraft is it has absolutely no armor, and because of that, generally people will just shoot you in the engines, and these engines are incredibly fragile. A lot of these bombers are exactly the same when it comes to how they perform, so a lot of the stuff I'll say about the SM-79 Series 1 will be applied to everything else. Something, therefore, I'm going to focus on is looking at camouflages and stuff like that. So we have a bunch of different ammo types you can take. Universal air targets and tracers are all great, and for the turrets I would go for universal, because you get the API round instead of just having the AP round with the armored targets. When it comes to bombs, you have either 12 50 kilos, 5 250s, or 2 500s. 5 250s and 2 500s definitely pack a punch, especially at 1.7. Remember, this thing is rank 2 1.7. It is the only Sparviero which has quite a low BR compared to what it should. With a maximum speed of around 430 kilometers an hour, but the ability to go a lot faster than that. It is actually quite a fun plane to fly, and once you actually drop your bombs, maneuverability is not bad in this thing. Before it got its flight model updated, maybe about 2 years ago, what happened was it turned amazingly well, but unfortunately now, it is a plane which does suffer from being quite heavy, especially frontally. One of the big issues that a lot of these tri-bombers have in the game right now, which is an issue I think is just going to stay because of after reading about a lot of Italian aircraft, it seems like a lot of their engines were like this, but the engines were not powerful. They were not powerful enough to carry the aircraft, so all three need to be running if you want to actually make it back to base. Even if you get one knocked out, let's say the center one gets knocked out, this thing loses so much performance, it's actually kind of sad. It does have WEP though, and if you get one of these side engines knocked out, well, good luck, because it's going to be an absolute pain in the arse getting it back to base. Let's have a look at the camouflages. You have the standard one, which is kind of nice, you know, green, yellow, and brown. Moving on to the Francois Air Force one, Air Force camouflage, which I nearly have. One of the great things about all these Sparvieros is their camouflages. Their camouflages are so nice, and I'm definitely going to work to unlock a lot of them. But as you can see, it is nice, it is beautiful, and it is also something to look forward to when we have more Italian aircraft in the game. We get these fantastical camouflages. This is the standard bicolor camouflage, if it feels like changing. Oh wait, it has changed. Okay, so the big difference between them, there's no crosses. This has changed, but still, it is a lovely color, and it actually fits the propellers, which is very nice. Moving on, the next one in the 7 aircraft is the S.M.79 Series 8. This is the 1939 variant of the SM-79, and pretty much nothing has changed. The only real difference between them, this looks slightly different when we have a look at where the gun is mounted. I wonder if when these things get put into the Italian tree, if this is actually going to close, because you can actually close this. Another interesting little tidbit is the SM-79, if I can show it, has a little door here. And when you open up, when you use your open cockpit button, this little door opens, so maybe I can show it a bit better. Yeah, you can see it a little bit better on this one, and not really on this one. But there's a little door here, and it opens up when you open your cockpits, and I think that's a really nice little detail, something that we can look forward to when it comes to a lot of these vehicles. Now, the reason why this thing is not as good as the SM-79 Series 1 is because I don't have a lot of upgrades on it, but it has exactly the same bombs, it has exactly the same ammunition types, and it performs in exactly the same way. So what we're going to do is look at the customizations. I did get rid of these decals, but it doesn't feel like it today, fair enough. The first skin, the standard one, is okay, very similar to the upgraded one for the first Sparviero, and then we get the African bicolor camouflage, and there you go, isn't that lovely? Oh, it's so nice. I hope we get the same deal in planes as we do tanks when it comes to how much we can make the camouflage look old or battered and stuff. I think that would be fun. But unfortunately it doesn't really match the engines, but it still looks nice. It's still a nice little flavour for it. Moving on, we have the SM-79AS. As you can see in the tree, this is the first 3.0 SM-79 that we get for no particular reason. As I've said before, it doesn't really make sense. You get a slightly faster machine. Basically, you have, for some reason, a little bit more power in these engines. Actually, these have more power, so it must be lighter. Sorry about the children, if you can hear them. It has the same guns all around it. You have, once again, the offensive Breda Safar in the front, a defensive one on the top, and, of course, one on the bottom, 2 Vickers on the side. That's the basic design of all of these aircraft. Then if we look at bomb loads, it should be exactly the same, but it does have a torpedo, which is kind of interesting. Not a very good torpedo, but definitely better than British ones, and that's all we need. You have a 1250s, 5250s, a F200/450, and of course the two 500s. That is something to look forward to when we get the Italian trees, the different torpedoes that they're going to have. Definitely a nice little addition. So we move on to the customization. This is the standard camouflage, and then we have the standard unicolor camouflage, which is very German, or very Spanish Civil War-y, and I actually really like it. It has this little emblem on the back of the rudder, which is very nice to look at, and just the full grey style you generally don't see. If we ever get the big transports, the Ju-52s I believe they are, the German machines which had 3 engines, I'm guessing they would look a hell of a lot like this. There were bomber variants created, so hopefully we see them, but at the moment this is what we have. We have a grey Sparviero. Then you have the tricolour camouflage, and I really don't understand this camouflage, but I find it interesting anyway. You have the dual colour, or the bicolour here that you can see, which is present on other aircraft, and then they've just decided that they want to paint the nose white and the engines white. I mean, why not? If they want to, they can go for it and have a little bit of fun with it, and then of course the stripe on the back. Kind of interesting, but once again, it's a little bit faster than the others, and it gets a torpedo. That means that it gets a 1.3 BR increase, because that makes sense. The next one is the SM79 Sparviero BIS/TM 1943. So the last one was 1941. This one is pretty much, you know, end of the war Sparviero. This is the one which you would probably see as having the 3.0 BR, and it's slower than the SM79 AS for some odd reason. It also looks a lot more battered. It probably didn't get a model update like everything else, but there are little parts of it which are really interesting. If you look at the little gun mount here, you can see that they've put a lot of effort at putting holes into this machine. These are where the 2 gunners sit, and you do actually lose out on not having the 12.7 Breda Sapphire at the bottom, but the 2 7.7s do turn into 2 12.7 Breda Sapphire. So you get a bit more coverage from the sides, but you lose the guy at the bottom to try and control. This is still a Breda Sapphire, and this is of course still a Breda Sapphire. But overall, very similar. Slightly slower, slightly heavier, a bit more armament. Looking at the modifications, it can once again carry the torpedo, very similar to the one before. 1250s, 5250s, an F200/450, and a 2 500s. So pretty decent in ground strike, all things considered. Once again, this thing actually has armor, so it has armor modeled in, which generally isn't the same as any of the other ones, as you can see, so it's kind of interesting. You have 12mm here, 6mm on the side, and 9mm for the gunner. This means that your engine can actually survive a few more hits, which is very nice compared to generally what happens, where they just shoot you, your engine dies, and well, you just kind of flop out the sky. You also have some coverage for the guys on the guns, which is once again very nice. Customization wise, this is a horrible skin. Not in the fact that it's not well modeled, it just doesn't look very nice. I mean, it looks like, you know, this is a battered aircraft, and I suppose in 1943 this thing would have been battered. Then we have the standard unicolor camouflage. The only real difference between this one is that, as you can see, you get the nice little Italian flag. So here's the standard one. Oops. Here's the standard one. And here is the unicolor. So there you can see 2 little Italian flags on the back. Isn't that nice? Just to add to the markers that we have on the wings. Very, very nice. Now we get something completely different in the SM79 Sparviero B variant, the 1936 variant, which for some reason sits at 2.7, when its 1936 counterpart sits at 1.7. This is one which is actually different to the rest, because it doesn't have that forward-firing 12.7mm. They basically got rid of it in favor of an area for a bombardier or, you know, a navigator, something like that, but he isn't modeled in the game, so unfortunately that is kind of sad for him. When it comes to armor, it doesn't have any, but it does have 2 engines. These engines are 659 Gnome Roan K14 Mistral 14-cylinder radials, which is very different to the rest of them. As you can see, all the rest are Alfa Romeos, which, you know, they're very, very standard with slightly different amounts of horsepower, where the SM79 sits with the Gnome Roan K14s. I'm probably saying that wrong, I apologize. If we actually talk about the performance of these things, they're very similar to the Alfa Romeo, so there's no real difference there, but remember that you do have 2 of them instead of 3, so this actually really slows down the aircraft, and because it's bigger, because it has no armor, it's very easy to kill pilots and stuff like this. This is probably the worst of the Sparvieros, but it is one I would definitely still research because it is different. It is something interesting, not like all the other ones which do have slight differences but are very similar to each other. It does also get the bottom gunner at the back. He does come back for this one, even though he's lost on the 1943 variant of the Sparviero. But he's there once again, and I'm guessing the idea is that one of these side gunners would drop down to use this thing, because there's no way you're fitting 3 people in there. So it actually gets 4 12.7mm Breda Safats, which isn't bad. Looking at the bombs, it does lose the torpedo, which is very sad, but you've got to remember this is a 1936 vehicle, where it seems like a lot of the 1940s vehicles are the ones which get the torpedo. 12 50 kilos once again, 5 250s, and 2 500s. You must be seeing a pattern by now. They're all exactly the same. Now, moving on to the 6th one, which is the SM79 Series 4, and I'll just line these up so I don't have to click too much. Oh wait, no, let's do camos. Let's see if this thing has any camos, just in case. So let's go to customization, and no, it doesn't have any camos, so there you go. It would have been nice to have a camo which got rid of the decals, and maybe this, just to kind of have a blank slate, but unfortunately they don't do that. Now let's go and get the last 2 aircraft, which are a pain in the ass to sort out. I am very cheap, and therefore don't buy more crews. This is the SM79 Sparviero Series 4 1937. So, from 1 year's difference, from the 1936 to the 1937, we had 3 different series of plane, and also a 1 OBR increase. Why? Who knows? Because it performs exactly the same as the Series 1 when it comes to the game. It has no armor. When we look at its X-ray, it has the 2 pilots, the offensive 12.7, and then it has all of the other guns that the Series 1 has. So the 12.7 here, the 12.7 in the dorsal turrets. Not really, though. It's not really a turret, it's just, it looks straight behind you. And then you have the 2 7.7, but this time they're Breda Safats, which is kind of interesting. The MC202 Folgore also has the 7.7 Breda Safats, but for some reason the Series 1 has Lewis machine guns. Maybe that was a change that they actually decided to make pre-war. Maybe that was the idea to go for. If we look at modifications and bomb loads, as you can see, all of the ammunition is exactly the same, and so are the bombs. Once again, 12 50s, 5 250s, and 2 500s. When we look at the customization, though, we get some interesting stuff. We have the standard tricolor. Look at this wonderful thing. Isn't that an amazing skin? This is definitely one I'm going to get to. Generally, if you want to unlock these skins, you need around 150 to 200 ground targets killed. So yeah, it's going to take a bit of a while, but look at this. Isn't this a wonderful skin? I absolutely adore this. But just remember, also in the past, Gaijin have actually taken away skins from people, from their planes. I have some planes where I've lost skins on, so just remember that, if you are worried about, you know, going for them. And then we have the standard bicolor, which is very similar to the second Sparviero that we saw with the black dot on the back, but once again, still very nice. Moving on to the last aircraft that we're going to look at in this series, which is the S.M.79 Sparviero bis/N 1942. Now this is another one which has quite a horrid skin, to be quite honest. This is probably the worst in the pack. With the grey and the green, it doesn't really match very well, plus all of this rustiness on the wings. Oh, it's not good, is it? And then we look at the armour. Well, guess what? It don't have none. It doesn't feel like it. When it comes to its armament, it has two 7.7 Breda Safats in the sides, a 12.7 on the bottom, a 12.7 on the top, and then an offensive 12.7. So very similar to the SM79 Series 4. You basically get a bit of a performance upgrade with this thing, but also you get the torpedo back. You have a 1250s again, 5250s, F200/450 torpedo, and the two 500s. So that's what you get in this machine. Very similar to a lot of the other ones, but then again, a lot of them are pretty much the same. There's hardly any difference between them. Unfortunately, this guy doesn't get a skin, which is very sad, which means that he's probably going to be sat in the doldrums for me for a long time. Since at 3.0, using a slow vehicle like this, it's generally not going to be very useful. But that is all the bombers that are in the German tech tree at this moment in time, and they'll probably disappear by the time update 1.69 hits. 2 of them have already disappeared, so don't let the other 5 go by the wayside without researching them. Try and keep them, try and get them before. The research won't be too hard to get them. Generally, a lot of tier 2 vehicles are not that bad when it comes to grinding aircraft, especially when you're researching other tier 2 ones. And it's not like you have to do tons. Like, you've got 5 bombers, 3 fighters, 2 more fighters, so 6 fighters and 5 bombers, and you can use them while you're grinding out the others. It'll be a wonderful time. You should go for it if you don't have these things. They are fun aircraft to fly, and it's always nice to have something which other people may not. I'll catch you next time.